everybody, this is Taz Street with Positive Out Loud. Today I have an awesome guest. I have June Jackson. June, she's a certified life coach. She's a certified Killer Bee Inquiries coach, or facilitator, I should say. And what I found interesting, June, was that what you do is also a psychedelic integration. We're going to talk about that later because there's not a lot of people who do that. And I think it's so important. So first of all, June, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love meeting with you. I love getting together, talking to people and meeting people. Yeah.
Exactly. So can you tell me a little bit about kind of where you came from, kind of maybe some of the challenges you've had in the past growing up, and how you overcame some of those things?
Yeah. I grew up, I live in the South, Southern, pretty conservative Southern type of upbringing, pretty decent upbringing. I think the biggest issue I had was I was real intuitive and really introspective, and I was always into, even at the age of 12, I was like, questioning Catholicism's teachings. And I had to really repress that. And so that started being an issue, just starting to repress my intuition and all of that. And then just being kind of sheltered and kind of naive, basically, when I got out into the world, started dating, trying to, socialize and all that. And it was just basically really mainly due to my naivete that I just got in trouble, experienced um, like a date rape type of situation. And then just the shame of that and the inability to cope with that, the inability to share that, feel safe enough to share that with anyone. That ended up putting me in a place where I was trying to repress that, which I did repress for, I guess, about 15 years. So in those 15 years, I got into an abusive relationship for 4 years. I learned a lot in that relationship about battering and about that type of relationship where you have one person controlling the other person. And then I got into the single lifestyle and kind of the party scene, in the 80s. So just partying a lot, using a lot of alcohol and drugs. And, as I look back, it was all in an effort to just keep repressing the original traumatic event. And I would say that there was mild trauma as a result of just um, being misunderstood, being super intuitive and introspective and not having that be allowed, so just having to repress that. But what finally got me, well, I was about to turn 30 and just kind of like, do I want to like be doing this for the rest of my life, partying all weekend, even during the
Yeah.
week? Like to the point where we would go, I might go out with all my friends on a weeknight and then the next day go to work and literally go home for lunch and take a nap
Mhm.
because I was like hungover and go back to work. So yeah, it was just getting older and saying, do I really want this? So I started going to therapy when I was about 28, and she let me go to therapy for about a year. Like literally I would go to therapy and then I'd go out that night drinking. And I tell some of my clients that, because I do practice the new model of recovery,
Mhm.
which is abstinence is not required necessarily. And so she knew I was still drinking and all. And then finally she suggested that I look at my relationship with alcohol, and I just quit going to therapy for like a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, I understand that when people are struggling with that and something's coming up and they don't want to look at it. Okay. because
Yeah.
I finally did go back, and I did the traditional AA, total sobriety from alcohol and drugs for 20 years, and got into spiritual practices and stuff like that at that time. So that's kind of a
I
brief
think,
overview of getting me to
yeah.
recovery, you
And I
know.
think a lot of people go through that, like their late 20s, early 30s, like, what do I want to do? Do I want to be like this? I mean, it's like that human potential growth happening with, development happening inside of us where we realize, oh, I better, it's probably not best to keep doing this anymore to my body, to my mind, everything, right?
Right. Yes. Yes.
And I totally get the whole alcohol issue where, there's people that are telling you, you may want to take a look at that relationship with alcohol and maybe try this or that. And, at first I didn't want to do that either.
No.
And I just kept drinking and having fun. And then when somebody's ready, they're ready, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who do you think you are to be telling me I need to look at my alcohol? You know.
Exactly.
And I met a woman, and I met her at a bar actually, and she was drinking non-alcoholic drinks, and I had been struggling with it. And I asked her what was going on, and she said she was in AA, and she brought me to my first meeting.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
So it's
And
just this total stranger you didn't really know.
no, I mean, we might have had mutual friends, I was in the lesbian community at that time, and,
Mhm.
I met, my who was gonna be my partner for 12 years. I met her. She was sober already, had 3 years of sobriety. So, my first 10 years of sobriety, I was sheltered in this very sheltered lesbian community with a lot of sober
Mhm.
women, and just really kind of fell into that. And it felt very safe and secure. And we had our
Mhm.
routines, and, I wasn't being exposed to the party life anymore at all. So that
Right.
made it a little bit easier for a while.
So did you have like episodes where you felt like, when things were going a little harder or rough for you, or did you feel like you wanted to continue drinking? Or did it just kind of fall away naturally?
Yeah, I never did. I was so convinced that sobriety was, helping me. So I just really didn't question it. Every now and then I would have a dream though. I would dream that I had drank, and I would wake up and I'd be like, "Oh, okay, I didn't." Yeah, and I'm a social drinker now.
Mhm.
So, but I do remember that. I remember waking up and going, "Oh my God, I drank." And then I would be like, "Oh no, no, that was a dream. I didn't."
I love the fact that you're a social drinker now, that you're totally fine. You're not addicted anymore. You don't have to keep drinking and drinking, right? Because you've worked through a lot of your emotional issues where it's not an addiction, right?
That's right. That's right. So I was using alcohol to run from my issues.
Mhm.
So if I do have, let's say I have something going on and it's causing me anxiety, I will have a craving to drink alcohol. But instead of drinking alcohol, I'll do inquiry. I'll look at what is this I'm trying to escape from, and then I'll deal with all of that. So I don't drink if I'm having that kind of craving.
Right. It's just more of a social thing that you do with your friends, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And so that idea of like people who are in AA and are told you should never drink again because this is a disease, and what do you think about all that?
Well, yeah, I know it's a good question because my ex-partner is celebrating, like, I don't know, 40 years of sobriety now. um, so I think that it's okay that you have that mindset if it's working for you. Okay. So
Okay.
nothing wrong with it. If your sobriety is working for you, go for it, because it did work for me for many years.
Mhm.
Um, if it's not working or if you're questioning it. And when I did decide that I was going to try to drink again, everybody was kind of split. I had friends on one side freaking out, saying, "Oh my God, no." And then I had other friends going, "Yeah, you're gonna, I'm sure it's gonna be fine."
Mhm.
So it was a little, I was nervous about it at first. And it, to be honest, it was a little tricky at first. Um, it wasn't smooth sailing.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't imagine it isn't with all the issues you had before with it, right? And then
Well,
you worked through a lot of it.
yeah, and I would say that the issues that came up were not, I wasn't drinking because I was trying to run from something. I was trying to social drink, but just not accustomed to monitoring. And, so like I would get in trouble if I let someone mix my drinks or let someone else pour alcohol for me because I
Mhm.
would just lose track. And so now I don't let anybody mix a drink for me or pour a drink for me or anything like that.
Right, that makes sense because you don't want to have too much, right? Yeah.
Right. And you can easily lose track of how much you have drank and not even realize it until you stand up.
Yeah, it's been years since I drank anything because I went through AA and all those things too, but I can imagine just having one drink, I would feel pretty tipsy.
Yeah, yeah. And one drink is all, I need really, if I'm gonna drink with friends. Like, we have a clubhouse where I live and we do karaoke on the weekends and we all get together and dance and sing and it's fun.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
It's been a long time since I've done karaoke. So what are some of the things that you did that help you with your addiction so it isn't an addiction anymore?
Yeah, the recovery things. Group work was really, really good. The survivors of sexual assault group work, which I may be offering that eventually. I think, gosh, how many women have been sexually abused? It's just
Mhm.
so predominant, and I see it a lot with people that I work with. So one-on-one group is one thing, but group work is something else that you can't really get from one-on-one. So group work helped me a lot. I had a teacher that was like a psychic. Her name was Mary Jo McCabe, and somehow working with her gave me this idea that it cleared out doubts about what I could do and what I couldn't do. So it just gave me this idea that I can do anything, I can pursue anything I want to pursue. And so that was when I became self-employed. And my interest in emotional development has just kept me interested. Um, one way or the other. Therapy off and on for many years,
Mhm.
um, group work, and then I started doing volunteer work. So I started doing volunteer work for the Battered Women's Program, um, and then grief work. So, as I would learn how to help others, I was also learning and growing and dealing with my issues as well. Doing that grief work. And I never became a social worker because I prefer to be a peer with my clients
Mhm.
because I'm a human being too. And so I I like to be able to allow myself to be a human and not be seen as a teacher.
Mhm.
And I think that has helped me because that means I'm going to be growing and learning even if I'm working with other people.
Right,
Um,
because everybody knows something that you don't know or they don't know, or right?
Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, sometimes my own clients, I'm like, wow, what did you say? And I'm writing down what they said, right? I mean, we're all in this together. We're all learning and we're all having these amazing revelations. And so we're sharing that with each other. And it just seems like it's this evolution that we're all evolving and it's just continuous is how it seems. But so
Mhm.
small group work, big group work, small group work, one-on-one, spiritual practices. I spent 8 years of my life doing spiritual practices for like 20 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was pretty intense. And
What type of spiritual work did you do?
well, I was doing, I had a guru and he lives in India. I'm still kind of, still in touch with him. Um, and it was, a lot of chanting, meditation,
Mhm.
prayer, scriptural studies, Sanskrit scriptures, rituals, attending the temple, rituals, singing, dancing, even. Um, just lots of practice. And it felt like I'm working right now and or I'm doing a spiritual practice right now. So it was definitely like half of my time was working and doing this and that. And then half of the time was an actual practice happening. And I started going on these silent retreats for like 8 to 10 days and just intense stuff, you know. And I know everybody doesn't resonate with, spiritual practices.
Mhm.
Um, so I wouldn't necessarily suggest that to just everybody just because, but I do think that that really helped me a lot.
Of all the things you've done, I mean, besides the inquiries, right?
Yes. Yeah. Of all the things I've done, I think that disciplined practice
Mhm.
was really beneficial. Another practice that I did is keeping a journal. My therapist suggested that I keep a journal, and I did for many, many years. I mean, when I finally did decide to get rid of them, I had like a stack.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And keeping a journal was very, very helpful for me because occasionally I would go back and read it. And it was just powerful. One of the things I got out of that was um, I used to worry a lot about the future, whether I was worrying about what was going to happen with the relationship I was in, worrying about what would happen with my job, just worry,
Mhm.
just just this very low level of anxiety that was constantly running about what is going to happen next, and going back and reading my journals actually really shifted that because I would go reread it and there was a lot of writing about, oh my God, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen here? And so here I am in the future reading it, and now I know what happened
Mhm.
because so it got to be where, oh, okay, there's gonna be a me eventually that is gonna know what's gonna happen next week because that me in the future will already know. And so it just eliminated the need to have to worry about what's gonna happen. Like I'll find out what's gonna happen when it happens.
And then you know that you have the capacity to work through whatever happens, right? I mean,
Having the capacity to work through what happens is big, right? To
yeah, yeah.
feel that I can work through things. Yes, that's true.
Or be
Fe-
resilient or whatever may come, right?
Yes. Feeling that I have enough tools, I have enough experience dealing with things that I really don't have to worry because I'll just deal with things as they come up. That's big, isn't it?
That's a big, big, big. Yeah. But do you think a lot of people worry about the future because it's maybe just a pattern they have, or is it maybe because of some of the old um, what conditions, beliefs that they may have from childhood or whatever?
Yeah, that's a great question because in a way it almost seems like it's just a habit.
Okay.
But yet, as we do inquiry, as we start looking at, because let's say that a client comes and she says, I'm just anxious all the time, worrying about the future, worrying about what's going to happen. Well, we just go and we look, okay, I need to worry about everything. We just gently use the tools from awareness, and we allow the unconscious part of the programming to come up and reveal itself. Why do I need to? So there's going to be a numerous amount of reasons, and they're going to be a lot of reasons about safety, getting needs met, and protection. It could be any kind of reason,
Mhm.
because our programming is held together by these utilities like getting my needs met or being protected from potential harm. So, yeah, we just look at that and honor it, honor the program. I need to worry all the time because that's helping me with this and this and this. And then I find that by honoring these things is how they finally start gradually relaxing.
And so do you find a lot of your clients, a lot of them have anxiety, or just what do you think?
Yeah, a lot of my clients do have anxiety. Um, Programs that are running constantly
Mhm.
of some sort of programming that seems to be a habit and a pattern of thinking, which creates anxiety because they're like, I can't get rid of it. Like, I know this isn't serving me, but I can't get rid of it.
Yeah, because some people think, oh, this is just part of the way my brain works. It's the biology and I can't fix it. So I need medication or,
Yes,
yeah. Do,
exactly.
do you think that's true, or do you just, it's just something that somebody believes?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it seems to me that we all have programming
Mhm.
running, and we can deprogram ourselves. And I guess all this work that we do does do that automatically, because it's no longer needed as we're looking at our traumas or whatever it was that, like, for I'll just give an example. So one of my programmings that was causing me a lot of trouble back in the day, and even my therapist, we noticed it right away and we did a lot of work on it, was I need to be in control.
Mm.
So I was ending up, running people away and just sabotaging things by needing to be in control all the time. Well, I need to be in control is a program running because I've been controlled, I've been abused by controlling people. And so unconsciously, I just adapted the program of, okay, well, let me just be in control all the time. And then that way, people aren't going to be trying to control me. And so just noticing what the programming is and understanding what that program is trying to help with, right there, that just starts relaxing it immediately. And so that's the kind of work that we do with the KI, with inquiring through the KI inquiries, is we just gently look at, and it just starts, relaxing the programming.
Yeah, what I love about the KI with the inquiries is that um, even if you're doing it with a facilitator or yourself or whatever, but what happens is that things kind of, they like slowly rise to the surface of your consciousness, and you're like, wow, this is what's been going on in the background for all this time. And it's not something that it would just pop up while you're doing the dishes or whatever. But I really think that the skillful inquiry really helps bring up things so you can look at it from awareness, so you don't get caught up in the trauma of it, right?
Yes,
And then it just releases. And of
yes.
course, sometimes it may come up again, and
Right.
nothing's, it may not be permanent, but yeah, but it's just a beautiful way of really looking at our own programming.
Now, I will say that some people are scared that something's going to come up and surprise them,
Mm.
but it typically isn't like that. It's typically oh, okay, yeah, I knew that happened, but I didn't realize that when that happened is when this programming started up. And so it's I don't find people uncovering things that from their unconscious that they were unaware of. It's mostly like, oh, okay, I'm aware of that, but I didn't have any idea how that was, programmed and affecting me today
And what I'm doing today, right?
and
Yeah.
what I'm
And
doing
how it
today.
all relates. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm doing this and I know I'm doing it and I've done it before. And then with inquiring from awareness, and I see, oh wow, that started there. It's just an amazing thing that happens. These tools, these Killaby inquiries are super sharp and
and
effective.
and then it just keeps adding on, because now we have all about the repression of emotions and the somatic things that happen with Scott Killaby, the one that created it. He said, he ended up having this horrible pain in his spine, right? And then just by looking at it and doing inquiry, it wasn't really releasing it until he started asking certain other types of questions to help look at what kind of what is it things he was repressed, or what type of emotions, right?
Yes, yes. And so he developed inquiries where you go straight for that and then see what resistance comes up. When resistance comes up, we know, oh, okay, here we go. We found it.
Like
You know?
what type of things, like anger, right?
Well,
Anger,
yeah.
sadness. Yeah.
For example, I can express this anger directly to my mom. No. So if the response is no, I cannot express this emotion directly to my parent, then that's a pretty big sign that there's repressed emotion.
That's pretty direct, because the parents are the ones that originally we couldn't do that with.
But if we've done a lot of work, yeah, it's gonna come up. Yeah, I can, right? So yeah, Scott and Dan are always developing sharper tools. They're upgrading the other tools, and we're
Mhm.
always okay when they introduce one. We're like, okay, here we go. Let's try this, and it's interesting.
Well, my mom came, I think it was about sometime last year, I can't remember when, but I remember we were sitting on the couch and I was doing something, I don't know, looking through my phone or whatever, and she said something that triggered me, right? And I got angry with her. And that's one thing I never used to do. And I thought, wow, that felt good to get angry with her. And then of course
You were able to
she took it
express.
as oh, you're acting as your teenage self. I'm like, no, this is me right now here being angry with you. It has nothing with me to do with my teenage self. There's nothing wrong with getting angry at our parents.
Right, that's right. Yeah, so you were able to express it, and she was able to hear that and
Well,
kinda
I don't know if she was able to hear it, but she,
well,
you know,
I guess it's never super pleasant to have someone angry at us, but at
yeah.
least you were able to do it, yeah.
I mean, I
Amazing.
wasn't like angry to the point of,
Yeah.
but you can tell when somebody's not. When they're angry, but not screaming at you. I mean, that's a
I
whole
mean,
different
anger
thing.
is a normal human emotion,
Yeah,
you know?
right, right.
We should we should be able to allow ourselves to feel it if we're feeling it.
Yeah, all of the emotions.
All of the emotions.
Yeah.
Grief is another thing. I did a lot of grief work. I was a facilitator. I trained other people to work with others. And, um, there's a lot of grief repression as well. Because, it's not necessarily socially acceptable to continue to grieve. Like there's a certain amount of grieving that's accepted. But then after that, you know, you're expected to just, go ahead and move on and become put on this positive attitude, put on a positive demeanor, put on your rose colored glasses and just suck it up. So yeah, we repress a lot of emotions that aren't necessarily comfortable for other people.
Yeah, and grief is a huge one, especially if you lose somebody that's really close to you, or something like that. You could start crying out of the blue 10 years later, and that's
Yes,
perfectly normal.
it is normal. It is.
But,
I'm sure I can tell you've done a lot of work too. I can tell that when I met you.
I, I could use a ton more though, especially that control thing.
Oh, okay. You
Well,
can
soon I'll
really,
be starting my sessions with Scott, thank goodness. So
wow, that's gonna be amazing. I can't wait to
yeah,
hear about that.
yeah. So tell me a little bit about the psychedelic integration and how that works with your work and how you can help people.
Yes. The first time I did psychedelics was I was like 15 years old and I did LSD. And wow, it was just an unforgettable thing. I was, again, naive back then. We didn't know a lot about it like we do now. I mean, the education on psychedelics as therapeutic medicines is just crazy. There, you can get so much information about it now. We didn't have that back then. So, um, a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to try some LSD, and it was in 2015, and I agreed to it, and it was amazing.
So did you do it just for fun, or were you doing it for some
No, we
type
were
of?
doing it. I was doing it as a spiritual practice.
Okay.
I had already had a permanent shift a year prior to that, so it was kind of like, okay, I was still in that. It took about 2 years for me to get acclimated to, because my shift, what it felt like was all the programming got deleted off of the off of the hard drive. And so the mental, all of the mental activity that I was used to had stopped. And it took a couple of years to actually acclimate to that. So I was kind of in the middle of that.
And how did that happen for you? Is it just from all the work that you've been doing prior to that?
It was from all the spiritual practices and all of
Okay.
that. It
Wow.
just happened, it was a shift. And so the LSD was kind of, it was also a similar, like, and I was wanting to kind of see, like, because I remembered one of the things about the psychedelics is you cannot bullshit yourself. Like, if you have egoic personal bullshit that you're just putting out there, like if I'm just pretending that I'm so smart and I know all this stuff and I'm like this teacher on a pedestal or something, that medicine will just knock you off that pedestal.
That's
I mean,
great.
it feels good to be knocked off of it, but it will require, it does to me, it requires humility. And so, but it was a true mystical experience. It was a true, and I was like, wow, this is a powerful tool for people who maybe don't have the patience to do that much spiritual practice, but they want to feel what it feels like to have the true shift, that true mystical experience, basically. So, I
And
mean,
some people may not have had a mystical experience. So, and I know that I have, and you have, but what can you explain it a little bit for people who may not know?
well, okay, so the mystical experience, it's traditionally taught to be where you experience oneness with everything. You realize that your ego is a separate egoic thing, but it's a part of everything that is. You can all of a sudden see the paradox of everything, like, whereas before I could take a position and argue for that position and just be adamant. But with this mystical experience, you're now able to see both sides of everything. Um, right? You just,
Mhm.
it's the ego can take a position for a certain amount of time, but it just realizes, okay, I can see the other side to that. So there's a paradoxical nature to everything now. And let's see, it's unexplainable, is one of the parts of it. Like we do try to, as we're sitting here trying to explain it. But it has a quality of being just beyond words.
Mhm.
Um, it feels as if you have encountered the pure truth of everything. And so that gets revealed to us in our own individual way, you know? Um, and so, yeah, I just was like, wow, what a thing to be able to offer to people.
Mhm.
And it is amazing to be able to offer that to people. And um,
Well, luckily, I had mine when, and it wasn't through any type of psychedelics or anything like that, but I was going to a drum circle, and when I walked in there, there was candlelit, and it was a circle and people were drumming, and I came in with my drum and I sat down, and all of a sudden I just felt like something totally shifted. It was so bizarre because I didn't know what this was all about. And I felt like I was just part of everybody and everything, and my hands were moving on their own. I was not playing the drums myself, that I felt consciously. And it just felt so easy and effortless, and it was flowing. It was just a beautiful experience. It's just one of the times that I had something like that, and for me, that's when I know that I'm in that mystical state. Yeah.
yes, yes. I mean, the first really powerful one that I experienced was when I met my guru for the first time and walked into a room like that. I was told to remove my shoes and walked into a room. So the guru wasn't there yet, but everybody was being ready for him and sitting around and chanting. And it was just the electric energy in the room. And then when he walked in, so yeah, just Shaktipat was just, streaming through. So now, when my clients use the medicine for this mystical experience. Now, we don't know if this mystical experience is going to be a permanent shift or not.
Mhm.
It might be because in my journeys through all these years, I would have this powerful, powerful shift, and it would last about 2 months, and then
Yeah.
and then then after that I'd be. But in 2014, it did feel different, and there was a permanence to it, but I'm still able to see more and be more can be revealed, and I can go deeper into, it doesn't feel like it's ever like arriving and I'm there, So what the psychedelic integration work is about is helping each individual to work on their own obstacles that might be coming up to prevent them from awakening, and then helping them after they've had their journey to integrate that um, into their life. And then let's say if they can't, if they're like, okay, I'm just back where I started, then we can even just inquire into that,
Mhm.
because they're going to write. I always encourage them to write and share about what was revealed to them during this mystical experience. This is just pure truth, and being revealed to each individual according to what we need to hear. Um, like, for example, a client about 2 weeks ago, we met, and he said, um, if there's something that you don't like about your life, you can change it.
Mhm.
And it was just spoken so profoundly, as if it wasn't this superficial little thing that he read. It was this awareness that he got. You can change it. And he said, there are millions of dimensions, and you can go to any of those dimensions and make changes on any of them and all of this, so let's say that 6 months from now, let's say he comes for a session and he's really frustrated about something. Uh, let's just say his job or something. And then at that point, what if I suggested, I would say, so let's use a reverse inquiry here and see what comes up for it. I want you to say, um, if something isn't working in my life, I can change it. So then when he says it and says no, okay, so why not? Because we're going to see exactly what is standing in the way of you being able to embody this truth that you saw, this truth that was revealed directly to you in this mystical experience.
Right. That's, if you have it written down, you'll never forget it. Right. So,
But you do forget it, you know, the programming will refuse it
mhm.
later if it hasn't become a permanent awareness. The programming will kick back in as if that wasn't revealed to me. And so we're just going to work on what's blocking that, because if we remove the block, that realization is there, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Because
Yeah.
because it was revealed. It wasn't something he read in a now, has he ever read that in a book? Probably, but this wasn't that.
Mhm.
This wasn't him saying, I read this in a book. No, this was truth.
Truth that was revealed to him during his experience. Right. Just for
Yes,
him.
just for him. But yet
Mhm.
I'm like, wow, just hearing it and the way he said it, I was like, that is so profound. It's simple, but profound in the way he said it to me.
So is
So,
there any type of thing that you heard when you had, if you've had any
oh
experiences like that?
gosh, oh wow. The last journey I did was a year ago.
Mhm.
And sometimes a journey shows you what you're getting ready to learn. And sometimes a journey shows you where you are. And
Mhm.
it could be a mix of both. Um, and it showed me that like I had been looking at, emptiness and form. So there's pure emptiness, right? And within that emptiness is form. And I was kind of very well aware of emptiness and form and almost vacillating between them, like either I'm totally aligned with pure emptiness, or I'm operating from egoic form. But this journey a year ago just showed me that they're both happening all at the same time, all the time, and that I have been functioning without realizing it from that place of emptiness and form are one. And I've been functioning from that place without kind of realizing it, if that makes sense. I know it's kind of,
No, 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 it does. It does. Now, the way that you said it at the end, yeah. Because we like to separate things, as our mind likes to put things in boxes, right?
yes, yes. And again, another thing about the Killaby inquiries is, this is inquiring from awareness. So that is a practice of emptiness and form anyway,
Right.
because
Right.
we're
Exactly.
inquiring from awareness. So we're inquiring into form from awareness and trying to remain aware that they're always both happening at the same time. So I think that's another fruit of the practice, and that's another sign of having had a mystical experience or an awakening,
Hmm.
of
Yeah.
being more and more aware of that. But I mean, other things, it's really specialized. It'll show you specific things about your life, relationships that might need some work. Um, it might show you something, you're done with that. And after the journey, you just go ahead and put a boundary up and
Yeah.
walk away from it. It gives a lot of clarity, and microdosing is another big part of working with the medicines. And so microdosing is pretty amazing as well because you cannot tell you're on the medicine at all. You can't physically feel it, but yet you've got this clarity and you're able to go yes or no, and
Mhm.
that's it, without a lot of second thought, and just allows you to kind of move through your life kind of efficiently, more efficiently, without getting caught up in a lot of questioning and doubting. And
Not able to make decisions, that sort of thing. Yeah.
I've seen it help people with procrastination issues, just become very, very active all of a sudden after years of having procrastination issues. I've seen them
Mhm.
like, wow, amazingly getting stuff done and loving it and continuing to work on projects that have been put off for years.
Mhm.
Like I'm just amazed at that.
Maybe it'll get some people to do their taxes soon.
Get caught up on your taxes and actually enjoy it, actually get into it. I mean, that's an amazing medicine that can make you enjoy that.
Thank God I use H&R Block because it's so much easier. So, or you can get an accountant, right?
That's what I have. I have an accountant. But, the medicines or that I mostly work with are um, they're organic. They do
Mhm.
no harm to the body whatsoever. So, that's another good part about it, that you can get these amazing results without harm of
And
anything.
yeah, these plants are just powerful, powerful. Oh my God, just have so much there to tell us. Been here a lot longer than we have.
Yes. And sometimes on the journey with psilocybin, it's almost as if you're on a journey with the medicine itself, like it's a companion with you, that there's a communication happening sometimes.
Mhm. And another thing I wanted to talk about is, have you had clients that have had lots of pain, and if when you start doing inquiries or whatever type of work you're doing with them, will that help release the pain?
It seems to release the pain, I mean, because a lot of times pain is repressed emotions.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most important, I help Scott. I'm a training assistant and help him train people that want to become a facilitator. And I tell them that if you can get to the point where there's nothing that you're afraid of within yourself, like, you know, sometimes people are like, okay, I'll do anything but that. I'll look at anything but that.
Hmm.
So if there's still anything that's a holdout, like I don't want to look at that, okay, that's fine, no judgment there. But to be able to say, I'm willing to look at anything,
Hmm.
I will go to the deepest, darkest part of myself. I'll go there. I'm not afraid to go and look at anything. There you go. I mean, that's an amazing place to be, period, in life in general. But then if you want to work with others, it's a great place to be too, because if I'm not afraid to go anywhere with myself, I'm not going to be afraid to go anywhere with you.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people have a hard time just looking at the pain to begin with. So that's why a lot of people don't even do this type of work, I would imagine. And I think a great way to look at this is the people who do maybe drink too much or eat too, or whatever their addiction is, it's because they're avoiding that pain,
That's right.
pretty
Avoiding
much.
pain. Avoiding pain.
So no judgment. We've all
No
we all been
judgment.
there.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's and okay, so that's fine. And if we can realize, okay, I'm doing this to avoid pain. Okay, that's step one. We can allow that. We're not gonna not allow that. But then the idea of what about allowing pain? You know, I have a guy that I've been working with, and he had been on pain meds for 45 years, and he had gotten off of them, but he was desperate, like, you know, didn't know what to do. And
Is it
so,
oxycodone?
I don't know, it was
Oh,
benzos for
oh,
sure.
benzos. Okay.
Bad, you know, horrible, bad for your body.
Yeah.
So when I suggested, okay, so we're going to rest, you know, and then I suggested the idea of allowing pain, he had never, ever considered allowing pain.
I can imagine. Yeah, some people don't. Yeah. Because in our
Yes.
culture, we're not allowed. I mean, you know.
But it's human too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a human instinct to avoid pain. I get that.
Hmm.
It's just that we can question our human instincts. We can question it. You know, do I have to constantly be trying to avoid pain, or can I allow it? And, you know, that grief work that I did was really great about that. So we're allowing ourselves to grieve. We're going to be together and we're going to allow the grief. We're going to allow it. And so, you know, honoring pain and allowing it is it's a practice.
You know where I find myself like allowing the sadness when I watch certain movies or watch certain shows,
Mm.
or when I do like some breath work, some deep, breath work, or just being out in nature. But you know, and I think the body knows when it needs to let go of something, and when you have that perfect situation, and then it all just kind of flows and
Let
uh,
it flow.
let it flow. Yeah.
Feel it, feel it. And then when we finally do allow the pain and we notice that it does pass. So, you know, we look at all the reasons why I need to avoid pain, and there are a bunch of them again, you know. And sometimes it is because I'm afraid that it's like going to be a Pandora's box. If I open to pain, it's going to be unending, it's going to be never ending pain, or it's going to be too much to bear. So these are, you know, stories also. These are ideas that we might have that is supporting the repression.
Mhm.
But if we can gently for allow a little bit of pain, you know, specific pain to, and then we notice, oh, okay, that passed, then gradually we will realize that that is happening with all emotions, that when we allow them, they actually do pass. Well, you know, you can tell somebody that and they're like, oh, yeah, sure. But once they start experiencing it, then gradually it starts dawning on us, right? That, oh, it's okay. I can feel this.
Well, like with anything, when we're crying about something, the crying doesn't last for hours on end.
No.
It just comes and goes for a few minutes here, or maybe 10 minutes. I mean, sometimes, but it
Yes.
goes away eventually.
Yes. Yeah. And even with grief, let's say that the grief is horrible. Like, let's say the grief is just super predominant for a whole month. But even within that month, it's ebbing and flowing.
Yeah.
You know, and then after the first month, it softens up a little bit, and then month 3, it softens, but you could still be grieving for 5 years over the loss of someone you were with for 20 years, but it's just gonna start changing, and then the waves, like you said, it could be 10 years later, and you could just bust out crying upon seeing a picture of your loved one that you lost 10 years ago.
Mhm.
That's normal. It's gonna come up, it's gonna arise, you're gonna cry, and then it's gonna pass.
So what do you think about people who are like take on other people's emotions? What advice would you give to them?
So that's like an empath.
Empath, right?
Well, we can look at that like anything else. I
Okay.
need to take on their emotions, you know. Is there a story? What's the story? Is the story their emotions are more important than mine? So sometimes I need to take on their emotions, and that's supporting my own repression of mine.
Gotcha.
You
Right.
know, so
Wow.
it's an individual different thing for each individual. So we would go in and see exactly what is supporting that I need to take on everybody's emotions.
Hmm.
And again, is it a habit? Well, when did that start? And we can go back to the origin of when that program started, that I need to take on everybody else's emotions. This has come up with clients. I don't consider myself an empath,
Mhm.
but I do have clients, and this has come up, and we can just gently go, and from awareness, we can look at it and see, what is it? Why? Why do I need to take on everybody else's emotions? There's a utility to that.
Right. And so when they look at it and they find out what that utility is and they work through it and they do the work with you, do they find they're not doing it anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it can be, it
Uh-huh.
depends, right?
That's okay.
You can be empathic and still be doing self-care. So the question would be, like, let's say the client is self-sabotaging, considering I'm an empath, I take on everybody's emotions, but I don't take care of myself.
Gotcha. Right.
So, if some inquiry can at least turn that around to where the true reverse inquiry, a healthy true reverse inquiry would be, I can hold space for the emotions of others and still take care of myself,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah,
right?
because yeah, if you notice, if you're there and you're helping out somebody who's maybe grieving or having a hard time or whatever, after you're done, you want to go and do something that's lighter and more fun and kind of release that type of energy because we're all connected, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so having empathy and being able to be there with a client in their emotions, that's powerful. That's very helpful to the client. But when we're inquiring from awareness, and I'm sitting in awareness, holding and allowing, really honoring the emotions of a client. And then once we wrap up our session, I I don't feel that I've held those. It doesn't, I didn't take it on. I'm just being there with them and allowing and honoring that. If some emotions arise for me, I can allow that. But
Mhm.
it all just beautifully just passes.
Well, because you're doing it from a space of awareness, not
Mhm.
getting caught up in their emotions, right? Yeah.
Right. That's the key to it. That
Yeah,
is
that'd
the
be kind of cool to have like a training on how just to do that all by itself because a lot of people don't understand. Yeah.
Well, there are trainings like that on members.killaby.com. There are natural rest meetings. It's
Gotcha.
all about natural rest. It's all about allowing from awareness whatever's arising and letting it pass, watching it pass.
Hmm.
Yes.
That's true. I haven't done much of that. I should.
Well, you're kind of abiding in that, right?
Hmm.
Already. And so, um, but as we're working with people and they're not abiding in that, we're just constantly reminding them.
Hmm.
I just constantly remind them, we're looking from awareness. Remember the space in the room. This is witness consciousness. Just reminding them, because everybody knows I have a witness. Even if someone says, I got triggered and I got completely hijacked, and I just did my regular thing, and like, oh my God. And so now I'm here and I'm like, wow, like, why do I keep going into this? I got totally hijacked. And so, I'm reminding them, you're reporting it to me. So there was a witness witnessing that you were hijacked, right?
Hmm.
And they're just like, oh wow.
Wow, that's some thunder there.
Well, lightning just struck. See, that's confirming what we're saying. That's when it happened, when I said, there's obviously a witness that is reporting to me that you were hijacked. And so then they're like, oh. So we want to just be abiding in that more and more. And even if, when I'm being hijacked, just see if you can be in touch with the witness. It's okay. I'm still going to be hijacked. I'm still going to do it, but at least start bringing in more of that witness that is aware that I'm hijacked,
Hmm.
you know. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I know that there's other types of because people can get sometimes trapped into their nervous system gets, too over. I mean, if you do too much of this work and you don't take breaks and you don't just go live your life, I would imagine that your nervous system can get kind of
Yes.
riled up.
Yes. So we do a lot of work with that as well, a lot of somatic work, and just being aware. At first, when we had to go to Zoom due to COVID, I was like, how is this going to work? But
Hmm.
you're able to see the client. And when the nervous system is getting, dysregulated, you can tell,
So what
usually.
what type of things would you recommend to help somebody with their?
We just have all kinds of practices. I mean, I can do something as simple as saying, okay, so look at this, follow this with your eyes. Don't move your head, just follow this with your eyes. Just super simple things to get them back in the room. Or now look around the room, notice all the space, just bringing them back to remember the space, the spaciousness, just bringing them back, just continuing to come back. Just follow this, all of that. Sometimes this kind of thing.
So it's
I have
about the senses then, right? Yeah.
just being rocking, certain clients already have done a lot of nervous system work, so they'll start doing that automatically to let me know
Hmm.
I'm self-regulating right now. Okay,
Right.
that's beautiful. One simple thing for nervous system regulation is to warm your hands up and put it on the back of your neck, right like that. Just put it right there because it can immediately relax the nervous system just by putting that warm hand right there.
Or anything more. Yeah, that would be nice.
Hmm.
That's why we love massages, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially the ones that use the warm oil.
Yes. Oh. And another thing, like we have a hot tub out here that's outside at the clubhouse. And so if it's, you can get in the pool, which will be cool, and then get out until you have goosebumps, get in the hot tub, get warm, get out, so going from hot to cold like that will immediately affect the whole body. Like you can feel it.
Hmm.
It will relax. If you have arthritis of any kind and you do that, go from cold to hot a few times, no pain in the body. It just totally relax. So, these are things that we can do instead of taking pain pills, instead of repressing emotions. If we're having physical pain, we can inquire into the physical pain and we can do these other practices, the hot and cold, you know, rocking, patting,
Hmm.
holding a blanket. I even have a client that has a blanket. She'll pick that up during a session,
Well, because we're physical beings, we need that, right? We need that those certain things to, like when we were babies, we were held, we were comforted, and right now I'm teaching my 9-month-old how to, the sleep training, and I you have to put him in when he's like barely awake, but enough so he can put himself to sleep. And then if he wakes up in the night, if he's crying, I go pat him for a little bit and then leave. And so, yeah, it's a lot to. I'm much better at it than my wife, where I can just like let him be and let him experience those emotions or whatever,
Yes.
and know that he's upset because he's not getting what he wants. He wants to be held and comforted, right?
Yes.
Unless he's sick, that's a different story. But so yeah, he's taking longer than my daughter did. So my sleep hasn't been as good. But he's doing much better. It's many nights now where he slept all through the night. Or maybe
Wow.
maybe he woke up and did whatever, but he went back to sleep and
Okay.
I didn't know.
You're teaching him self-regulation. You're teaching him that he can self-regulate. He can get himself back to sleep. That's powerful. Really beautiful.
Yeah, and who knows? I mean, if you think about that, were we ever taught that as a baby, in some way, who knows, right?
Yeah, right, right. That's exactly right. I mean, because, um, I have a friend that when he was a baby, they put a lid on the crib, and that was like normal.
A
That was
lid?
like they put a lid on the crib,
Oh,
yes,
wow.
top on it. So, he's got some I'm trapped stuff that comes up for him. And but they thought they were doing the right thing back then. That was in the books.
Well, they probably didn't want him to get out and hurt himself or whatever, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Now the cribs go down where they can't climb out as well.
Right, right. So, I mean, yeah, how many parents have, they're doing what they thought was the best thing to do, and then later it's like the kids are traumatized over it, but it was innocent. I mean,
Yeah. Just like we know now, it's best to do breastfeeding, for so many different reasons. But, back in the day, they were advertising that it's better to even give them the formula.
right, right. I mean, I would think the breastfeeding would be a part of the bonding, uh,
Right.
important bonding with the mother, you know. And if you can't, you can't, right? But I mean, the bonding,
Well, even, if you could still do
listen,
that same bonding with the bottle, I mean, you're
true.
still
That's
can be
true because I
bonding, I
have a
imagine.
young male friend that just had a baby, and he does that.
Hmm.
He does that. So apparently, he's learning that because I was like, that's interesting because he even had the baby kind of by his nipple, and he had that bottle. So it
Hmm.
was it was imitating what the mom would do, and it was working. I mean, the baby was fine with it. So
I always feel more comfortable feeding him just right here and then feeding the bottle. It's
yes,
like the most comfortable way to do it. I mean, if he's sitting up and it feels weird,
yes,
to me, that's just, I think
follow
that's just the
nature,
natural way, right?
right?
So are you doing any group type of work with people right now, or?
I've got one small group, and that is the people that are becoming certified facilitators.
Mhm.
But I am thinking about offering some group work. I love group work, and I think it's really important. So if anybody's interested, and go to my website and join my mailing list because I'm going to be sending out like once a month. I'm going to be sending out an email, and when I do start offering the groups, I'll be announcing it like that in my email. You know.
Okay. Um, is there anything that you recommend to people out there who are looking to start some type of healing, and where they should start, or what they should do, and just kind of, and I know they can reach out to you and do sessions with you, but
Yeah,
before they do that.
it's so important that each person chooses something that they resonate with.
Okay.
I have an assessment process that I use with people to help them decide what they need. It might not be that they need KI or coaching or a spiritual practice. It could be something else. So, um, yeah, it's important to try to find somebody that can help you just assess your whole life.
So
And look,
you have an assessment. That's pretty
I
cool.
have an assessment that looks at your whole life, and that's from the life coaching. Uh,
Okay.
so it looks at everything in your life, and you get to assess it. And then from that, you can say, okay, these are the areas that I need work in, that I want to work on. So who is the best person to go to for this work? Who's the best person for this work?
Hmm.
You know, it might be that your home life is what needs the most amount of work right now. So sending a person to do a spiritual practice would be, not
Yeah,
in line. They're actually needing to sell their house and get established in another house right now.
right.
It could
Exactly.
be, yeah, it could be a variety of things that what needs the most amount of attention right now in my life, you know?
Somebody may need to find a different career and get out where they are because it could be toxic. That would be the immediate. And
Yes,
then from there, you can see where they are
yeah,
emotionally, mentally, and all that, right?
right, right. So, I mean, I do offer a free 30-minute um, session to anybody that has never been a client before, and they can take that assessment on my website. I have two different assessments. One is a stress and anxiety assessment, and the other one is just a basic all-around assessment to look at your whole life. And so, a free 30-minute thing. I can help them figure out now what do I need to do. They may
Hmm.
decide to come back to me later for coaching or KI or psychedelic integration, but I can help them determine, okay, what needs the most amount of attention right now, you know,
Yeah, because everybody thinks, oh, I have to go do this because that's what
everybody,
they
yeah,
do. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. I can't say that anything I do is the most important thing for everybody.
No, no, absolutely not. We want to believe that sometimes, but no, it's not true.
We do, and that's our egoic nature too. I think that what I'm doing is the most important work, and
Hmm.
anybody would benefit from it. But the psychedelic integration work, no, it's not for just anybody.
No, no.
It's you got to be at a certain place, a certain place of readiness for that. You know.
And that type of integration, do you think that, because I've seen some people online who talk about this and they do it over and over, I mean, a lot of times. Is there too much of that they?
I don't know. I think there could be too much. I mean,
Yeah,
that would be something to look at. Like, um, it,
maybe they're wanting to get to that experience, right?
and keep that experience. And
Right.
so again, like, because I run everything through the KI filter, like, so I need to keep doing this constantly. It might
Hmm.
be a program running. um, I can't maintain this on my own. I can't maintain this, so what's the story running for them?
Right.
um, just to try to break that apart, like, is because you could almost see that, oh, okay, I'm having to do the medicine constantly because I'm not grounded in awareness yet. See, so
Mm.
even that can be looked at. That's a story. I'm not aware yet. Why? Why not? Prove that. So everything that comes up to prove that I'm not awake yet, we can look at that and inquire into that as well.
Well, people think that they're not aware because they think they have to be like Eckhart Tolle or something like that, right?
Yes. Yes,
He's
that's
just human
right.
like us. Yeah.
Exactly. And everybody's awakening, it looks different, and so again, that's one of the things with the mystical experience, right? Is that it's all the same, but yet each one is completely different. So that's the
Hmm.
paradoxical nature of awakening. Is it is one thing, but it's manifesting in an infinite number of ways because we're each infinitely different
Hmm.
and the same. Both are happening at the same time.
I think you can get a lot of insight just from your own dreams, right?
Yes, definitely. Dream work is amazing. For so I mean, I would love. Wow, wouldn't that be a great client to come and say, "I've been writing down my dreams every night for 30 days." I'd be
Wow.
like, "Oh man, yeah, let's do this." Wow. The dream life is very rich and can give you a lot of information about yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the best thing to do is to wake up right after the dream and write. Otherwise, you're just
Yes.
going to forget it, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And so that takes discipline. So a person needs to be having a certain amount of discipline to do dream work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
because
know a lot of different cultures, they really, when they have these dreams, or these, they call them premonitions, that a lot of times they come true.
oh
I don't know,
wow.
like in Ecuador, I know I've heard of some of that happening. I'm like, so they really,
And maybe if you honor your dream life enough, if you honor it enough, it may start actually giving you premonitions.
yeah, and
You
it
know?
does. Yeah,
Yeah.
from what I've heard. I don't know. I've never experienced that myself, but
Yeah. No, I haven't really either that I know of, but it's kind of like one of the stories that I learned from the guru, where to practice gentleness, practice non-harming at all times. And so supposedly an individual that has never harmed another being now, um, like a wild animal might approach them, but they would not attack this person because in their presence they're in the presence of a being that has never harmed another being, and so they just adapt to that. So that's kind of like your dream world would adapt if you're honoring it may then come give you some gifts, and you know that
yeah, I
would
would
be
imagine that culture does honor it very much.
yes.
So yeah, for many years. So yeah, I would
That
imagine that.
would be a fruit, one of the fruits of the practice, a
Mhm.
fruits of the practice. So the fruits of non-harming would be that no one's ever going to attack you, you know, because they're just sensing it. That's now a fruit of the practice. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And so what I've noticed with the Killaby inquiries is that, once I learn certain tools, I can just do it on myself, which is what you want to do anyway. If something comes up during the day and you get triggered, and you can just look at it and do a quick inquiry on it. So can you tell people a little bit about where they can learn how to do this? Or
Yeah, go to killaby.com,
okay.
and under programs, under interactive programs, there's some info. Scott does one-on-one trainings, and maybe implementing some other trainings where Scott is training, and then a training assistant is helping him.
Hmm.
So, and then in the members area too. I mean, it's easy to learn a lot in the members area
And the
about.
members area is free for a certain amount of time, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and even the paid membership is very, very reasonable for what you can get.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
it's like
meetings in there every day. It
yeah,
seems like it's
like
amazing.
$30 a month, and there's a meeting every day, and so, I direct people to that because I think you're getting a lot for your money there for sure.
Yeah. And then you learn how to do more of the natural rest and all of
Yes.
that. And then there's topics that come up that they talk about that people can really focus on
Right,
and yeah,
and the
and look at.
members can talk to one another, members share with one another about how the
Yeah,
tools are working for them, etc. So it's a community of it's an interactive community.
very interactive. I love it. It's like a whole new community that I came across in
Yes,
my life this year. So I love it's a beautiful community. Yeah.
yes, yes, right.
So tell us a little bit about where people can find you, how they can book sessions with you, that sort of thing.
Okay. Yeah, it's awakenawareness.net.
Okay, awakenawareness.net. And I'm going to put everything
Yeah.
in the links below. And do you have any other like social media platforms, or no, just
I have
basically
an
that's it?
Awaken Awareness Facebook page, but I'm not really doing a lot on it, but I might again once I start sending out emails and stuff like that.
You're
You
focused
know,
on clients, right?
I think, yeah, because I'm working. Sometimes I will do 10 sessions a week, 10 to 12 sessions a week sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, and so, I'm busy and I'm retired.
You're retired and doing the 10 to 12 sessions a week.
Yes.
Well, at least it's not like you're doing like 5 a day. So, it's only
A
maybe a
couple
couple
a
a
day,
day. Yeah.
two or three a day, yeah. But get on my mailing list. If anybody, would like to just be curious about what I'm offering in the future, get on my mailing list. You can just go to my website and get on there, because I am going to start just staying in touch, because I realize I have 100 people on my list I want to communicate with. And so that's enough. I have 100 people, and I can let that list grow and just send out a monthly message, letting them know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have all that set up for the emails. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, June. This has been awesome. And
Yeah.
it looks like the storm has passed, huh?
Yeah, looks like it.
It came just for our talk. So it can like boom, this is what we need to listen to.
Yes. Well, I'll be looking forward to hear about your journey with KI as well.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to, work through a lot of my own stuff, and then whatever's there left there, and then help other people as
Yes.
well. So this is
Yeah.
what I love to do, just like you. Yeah.
Yes. Good. Good. Awesome.
All
Well,
right.
thank
Take
you.
care. All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.